Hey there, everybody. How you guys doing? It's a beautiful, beautiful August day in mid-Michigan at a little woodland garden that happens to be Miss Julia's house that she grew up in. So this is Julia's house, who's behind the camera, my assistant back there, Julia. And we're gonna tour you guys through this magical little shade garden that her mother lovingly cares for and has done such a good job on. And we stopped through here today on our way to a meeting on a little lake that we have to go to. And I just thought we got to do a video and show people this because there's so many cool stories and really great things going on in these little gardens. So hang tight, get your popcorn, and let's dive in. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys through and talk about some of the great plants that I totally love that are in these gardens. And I'll also point out some really fun little knickknacks and family memories and special things that are going on, which I think are so important in anybody and everybody's garden, because I'm sure so many of you guys can relate to having so many of these things. And of course, Julia will help me with a lot of that. This is one of my absolute favorites. If you guys recognize this is a fern called Lady in Red. It's a lady fern. It's called Lady in Red because those stems are so red there. But look at how beautiful that is. There's a couple of clumps there. It's a really easy fern to divide and move around, but just a really great, strong woodland fern. It's a native lady fern. Lots of great hostas. They do have a ton of deer that come through the forest and everything here, but by spraying, and alternating different spray products like Liquid Fence and Repels All are the two that she's using right now. They've been pretty successful. It's, a lot of these hostas, everything around the house actually looks really, really good. Apparently there was a 10-point buck that came in last night and chowed some stuff a little bit further down around the house. But so there's throughout the garden, there's all these really, really fun little gifts and things like that Julia has gotten for her mom, or Julia has two brothers, so there's three kids that are involved here. So this is one example of the mama mouse. And look at this. So the wind makes the little mouse row in this boat, and there's three little mice in the boat. Mama mouse and the three mice. Very, very cute and very sweet. Another little fun knickknack from the grandson, Lowen, is this great watering can. It's a metal watering can with his little handprints there. This was from some time ago because Lowen is a big boy. He's only, what, 4? 5. He's 5 years old, but he's much bigger than this now, so this is really, really sweet. This is 2021, so now it's been a few years, and his hand is probably nearly the size of mine, honestly. So this is a really special little treasure to have a little watering can there. This is a cool little snail slug from the daughter-in-law, and love that. Really love this little pot, and all these little pots kind of tucked in throughout the garden. This is a great begonia here. Apple blossom. It's like trailing tuberous begonia there. That's really, really great. This is strawberry drop coleus. This looks like some stuff that Julia must have given her mother, because this is all stuff we were using this spring. So I'm assuming that Julia brought this down from up north. This is, what's this one? Apricot. It's a Riger begonia, or Solinia, right? That's a really, really nice begonia, but this is looking great. Little pot there. This is a fun little, wow, that's really amazing. Look at, this is just sitting on here and balancing. This is all welded up. Here's a spoon, and this balances perfectly on there. It's all made out of forks and spoons and knives, which is these two dragonflies. That is super, super cool. Over here, I'm gonna try and tell you guys all these little stories that I just learned from Julia, because I just love all this kind of stuff. All these really special stones along here are all stones that have been collected over the years on family vacations and family trips and stuff. So they would, pocket stones that are when they're walking up and down different beaches and things like that. And every one of these has a special memory. And so for, somebody just walking by or, coming up on the house, it just looks like some stone along the house, but it means so much more. And like I said, I know that so many of you have these little spaces and places and special plants and special knickknacks in your gardens. And I think that that's what makes a garden significantly more beautiful and more meaningful. And it's just important. And that's why I wanted to point out all these cool little things. This garden does look really, really good. The plants look amazing. I think there's a lot of love in here that goes into the garden that makes the plants look so good because of all these little treasures and knickknacks and little little things that just make you appreciate being in a bed so much more so. This is probably one of my favorite little parts of this garden. This is the penny rock. And so Julia's dad would always come home and have change in his pockets, and he would just take the change out and empty his pockets out, and then Julia and her mother would always collect up the pennies and put them on this rock. And for years they would do that, and then now they've literally started gluing them on here so that it would be a permanent thing. So these pennies are glued to this rock because it was always just a fun, silly little thing that they would do. And I love that. Like, these little stories and memories are just so cool. Back to a little bit of plant ID for you plant geeks out there. This fern, a lot of great ferns in these gardens. This fern here is a Japanese painted fern. These are really, really great plants here. This you can see they kind of do spread a little bit. There's little parts and pieces of some of these ferns that are spreading, so they do divide easily and you can use them. I think this variety is called Ghost. It's got a little silvery sort of reflective vibe to it there. But this is a really great fern. Ferns in general are fantastic for the shade garden. The deer don't touch them. Really, really tough plants that I just love. And I love all these painted ferns. They're awesome. A lot of these little dwarf, tiny little hostas are pretty fun. You can see they're really filling in and kind of ground cover like through here, which is great. There's a lot of little dainty little different varieties that are being tried out through here, which are great. This is Lenten Rose. And one thing that I really, really like about these is the foliage is really strong and they do well. Again, the deer don't touch these, but this is a really strong, dense, beautiful plant. The foliage looks great all season long. Even though they flower really early in the season, sometimes they're coming up and flowering even through the snow. So there's not another flush of flowers or necessarily a lot of color out of them through the season, but just foliage wise, there's a lot of interest there, and they're just a super, super tough plant. So that's another great, great plant there. A lot of little sedum tucked in everywhere. Cranesbill or hardy geranium. This is a great example of just tough plants doing their thing. This is a stilby. And here's the flower on this guy. Really beautiful, kind of light purple to it there. And it spreads kind of nicely here. Again, all this herbaceous stuff is really easy to divide and move around and play with. So it's a great garden for that. Like, every single thing in this garden can be, chopped back, divided. It's all tough stuff. So in the wintertime, all this can be cut right back. In the springtime, there's all kinds of primrose and daffodils and beautiful bulbs that can come up through here. And the beauty of a herbaceous garden like this with so much, I call it herbaceous, or this, where all the foliage and everything grows and does all of its growing in one planting season. So there's nothing woody in here at all. And the beauty of this is all this can be cut right back for the winter. You can work in these gardens in the spring or in the fall, planting some bulbs and stuff in, and there's nothing that, there's no huge commitments with a lot of real big woody stuff or anything in here. So it's very forgiving, fun little garden. One more little plant, or a couple I want to point out. I'm looking around and seeing all this stuff. Here's some more Lenten Rose. This is a different variety that's variegated a little bit. That one's really, really cool there as well. But this little dwarf, do you know what variety this is? No? No. This is a little dwarf astilbe here. It might be Sprite, which is one that I really love. But notice the foliage there is like smaller and just a little lacier and daintier than some of these other astilbes that are a bit bigger. And see how serrated that is? That's just really, really cool. In the fall too, all these different astilbes, the foliage turns really, really great colors in the fall. So even after now that they're done flowering, you get a lot of really great flush of color out of the foliage there, which is fun. Okay, one more plant I want to point out to you guys is this guy. This is another great woodland ground cover. This is May apple, and this is a native that's really fun. I mean, the shape of the leaf is really wild and funky and cool. They do flower in the spring, but they spread, and it's just a really fun woodland ground cover in and amongst ferns. And the ferns and a May apple play really, really well together. Some dicentra here that's long past its flowering time, but it's a great place for a little bleeding heart out over the path. And anyway, so many good fun little things going on in these little woodland beds here. Wanted to show, hey, there's Mama out there. She's embarrassed that I'm going through her gardens, but they're really, really special and amazing. So all of you guys need to leave comments and say, oh my gosh, these beds are amazing. You're so great. You're so beautiful. You're so cute. Because all those things are very, very true. So anyway, we got to get going on to a big client meeting on a lake that's nearby, but wanted to take some time, show you guys through these awesome little gardens here. And please do, tune in for more videos to come your way here soon. And we'll see y'all again in the next video. Cheers.